This week in sports, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl champions. In a game with numerous storylines and angles and people with things to prove, it was the greatest of all time who came home with his 7th Lombardi trophy. The Bucs beat the Chiefs 31-9. All 4 touchdowns the Bucs scored were carried or caught by former AFC stars, including 2 touchdown receptions by Rob Gronkowski. Leonard Fournette carried a touchdown, and Antonio Brown caught a TD as well. Defensively, the Bucs held the face of the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, to 0 touchdown passes or runs and 2 interceptions, including one in the end zone to all but seal the game for the Bucs. Tom Brady was named the Super Bowl MVP for a record-setting 5th time. Prior to the Super Bowl, the NFL held its annual awards ceremony in which we saw Rookie of the Year go to Justin Herbert, Defensive Player of the Year go to Aaron Donald, Offensive Player of the Year go to Derrick Henry. The Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2021 was headlined by Calvin Johnson and Peyton Manning. Comeback Player of the Year was fittingly Washington quarterback Alex Smith. The Coach of the Year was Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. The Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year went to Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. And as predicted, the most valuable player of the year was Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Elsewhere in sports, Russell Wilson confirmed his frustrations with the Seattle Seahawks, stating that he's frustrated with how many times he's been hit. The Colts and Bears apparently lead the pack as trade partners with Philly for Carson Wentz, and Derrick Rose was traded to the New York Knicks. This is the Under.500 podcast.
Everybody, welcome back into the Under 500 podcast. I'm Tyler, and I am joined by my 2 fellow Tom Brady lovers. Eric, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, baby. How are you?
Oh,
how are you?
I am on top of the world.
Oh, I bet you are down there in Kansas.
It feels amazing, but we will get into that a little bit more. Aaron, what is up, my guy? How are you doing?
We're doing really, really well. Getting a little more sleep day by day, kind of.
Wow, good.
so that's good. But yeah, man, it's always a good time when you see TV win another ring. So I'm all for that. I know there's so guys, how much salt was on social media the past couple of days?
So much salt
in social media,
everywhere,
in text messages.
Oh,
I still got Tom Brady's not the best. He's the luckiest quarterback ever. Okay.
Colin Coward said keep talking. I'm sorry.
All I can say is it's everything's been heavily seasoned after this. It's just I don't know. I don't understand how some people can be like, he's not the greatest of all time.
I don't know how anybody could say that at this point.
It's
a runaway.
What I was gonna say is Colin Coward was like, if anybody says any different that he's the greatest, then they're delusional. And he's right.
Or it's just outright denial. Like
it's denial.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's either you're insane or you're just denying it out of like pride reasons. Like you're just choosing not knowledge of the fact at this point.
Right.
It's just as ludicrous as if you say the sun doesn't exist. It's on that plane now. So I don't know.
Okay, C.S. Lewis.
Mere Christianity coming at you.
Yeah,
that's right. So you want to dive into this game?
Yeah.
So let's start here.
Of the time, yeah.
Let's start here with this story, because I think this is important just to set the stage. Is that it came out this week that Andy Reid's son got into a horrific car accident that was potentially brought on by alcohol. This is not his first time that he's gotten in trouble with both drinking and driving and with reckless driving. Except this time he got in a car accident with a girl and then 2 young kids in the car. I have not seen any updates. I did not hear it explicitly said that they were his kids. I looked at 2 different articles and they didn't say it was his kids explicitly. I have no idea what the situation there, but I think the girl is in critical condition. So Andy Reid was asked about that, and he said that the game plan was set in place, a couple weeks ago, and now it's just executing, but it's hard for his heart not to bleed for that, which obviously, like, now being a father like, something like that happens to your kid, whether your kid's at fault or not, it's very, very, very distracting, I'm sure. Like, I could see that now and I get
Mm,
that more.
yeah.
So I just want to start with maybe potentially Andy Reid's head wasn't fully there, and I completely understand
Oh,
that.
yeah, that's 100%. You can't. I don't fault him for that at all if that's
Right.
the case. He's had like you said, I know his son's had issues in the past. I think another one of his kids too
Yeah, I was
has
reading
had
that.
issues with substance abuse. So definitely a tough situation for the Reed family. Yeah, so it does. I mean, that goes above. That's way more bigger than the game at that point. With what's going on with his family, so there's no doubt that that was on his mind the whole time and probably affected preparation and his decision making. Which, like you said, I can't hold that against him.
Right. Yeah, it's a very just it's a rough situation. I
100%.
would I would really hate to be in Andy Reid's shoes going into the Super Bowl and then the week of it was the same week, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like Thursday. Like, it was
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, and that's just that's sad.
Yeah. Nonetheless, the game happened, and we made some pretty on par predictions for like the top 3 keys of the game, and I really felt
Yeah, we
like
were on it.
at least 2 of each of ours hit. Tyler, let me start with yours because I think you probably said the most important thing, and I almost heard you say it and just said, "Yeah, run game, okay, whatever." But like your run game prediction, just go ahead and bathe in the rightness of that
I
for a
mean,
minute. Tell us about that.
well, it was important. The game showed that establishing a run game was able to it was able to disrupt, not upset, disrupt defense the defense, and Kansas City didn't go into the game with a run plan at all. They didn't plan out a single, at least it seems to me, they didn't plan out a single way to disrupt Tampa Bay's defense, knowing that Tampa Bay's defense has been very good in the playoffs. So we did our prediction sheets when we watched it at our church here, and it was like, is the first run of the game going to be or the first play of the game going to be a run or a pass? And it's like, this has to be a run if it's Kansas City, because they really need to,
Right.
they really, really need to establish that run game. And it was a pass. And I don't understand what they were thinking, because the times when Clyde Edwards-Helaire did run, how many yards did he get? He got a good chunk of yardage.
He was
He was
fairly
averaging
successful.
about 8 yards per carry at one point.
So
It was like 8 carries for 60 something yards.
and your offensive line is not doing well halfway through the game, you might want to try an outside run. You might want to try not blasting it up the middle. You might want to try, a toss to the right, toss to the left, and go to the outside. But they try these, little trick plays. The option, Mahomes throws it back to Sammy Watkins, I think it was, and it was to Helaire, and it didn't work, and it was a loss of
Actually,
yards.
that's a good
Then
point.
they try and get Tyreek Hill to do a run too, and he gained a
Yeah,
few yards, I thought.
It was a couple of yards, but it's Tyreek Hill. He's the fastest guy in the league.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because they
Offensively,
did
at
that a
least.
lot this past season. You saw them do a lot of kind of option plays with Hill and Hardman to the outside that got them big yards throughout the season.
Right.
And they, outside of one attempt to Hill, did none of that.
Right.
So that's true. That's a
And
good point.
that didn't keep the defense, Todd Bowles' defense, honest. Like, they just defended the
Right.
big. They sold out to get to the quarterback, and they defended the
Two
big
high
play.
safeties the whole time. The
Yep.
whole game, two high safeties.
They basically told them that you need to throw underneath, and even then, we're going to defend you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
But so, I mean, did they really give them an option? Not really, because Bucks defense was on it. They really were. They executed that game perfectly. I don't know how a defense can have a more perfect game than that. Especially
that
in the
pivots
Super Bowl.
I completely agree. That pivots right to like my prediction that Todd Bowles has to watch film and be ready. And I thought, again, like the way he played both of those guys was beautiful. He just said,
Yeah.
"We're going to come up your throat. We're going to make you roll out, and we're going to make you scramble and make decisions." And in Patrick Mahomes' defense, the guy made some fantastic plays that just
He
should have
did.
been caught. How are
Yeah.
they not
Yeah.
caught?
That
But I
drop
mean,
by
he's
Kelsey.
falling down. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there
I
one
have
that
so much
was-
to say about that.
huge drops. Go ahead.
The one that hit off Hardman's helmet
Mm.
in the end zone, when he threw it as he was parallel to the ground. He was falling to the ground. He threw a strike,
Mm-hmm.
an absolute strike to Hardman, and it bounced off his face mask.
Yeah.
If I was Mahomes in that, oh man, I wouldn't throw another pass to him for the
Right.
rest of that guy's
Yeah.
career.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
Are you kidding?
I think we can all agree that Patrick Mahomes is not to blame for this loss. Like
Right.
he has turf toe that he has to have surgery on. He's going to miss most of the offseason, like training camps because of it. And he still scrambled for what Next Gen Stats said 497
497
yards.
yards.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with all of that, he's throwing on the money. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Oh man, it was just cool to watch. But it was also, I mean, I wasn't sad that he was, having a scramble the whole time.
I will say too, you hit on I'm sorry, Tyler. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say on the other side of the run game, who did establish the run game was the Bucks, and that really sealed the game in the second half because they had already established a run. They had a heavy pass, which disrupted the defense, and then they all of a sudden in the second half are like, "We're going to chew up the clock because we're up, and you're Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and we really don't want you to come back." And they went to the run game, and that defense had no idea what they were doing. The Kansas City defense they just couldn't see it coming. And Leonard Fournette had a fantastic game, and that touchdown run he had was, I mean, that was the kill shot to me. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, I think that's it. I think that's the end."
I think you said that to us, and I was like, "No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm not saying anything yet until that clock is expired.
Yeah.
Until Brady is taking knees and it's over."
Yeah, no.
But I agreed. Like when I saw that, I was like, "Oh boy."
And you know what that touchdown run was on? It was on the outside. Establish the
you're
run,
right.
establish the outside.
Fournette had
the
a
key to
game,
big
man.
game. He did. It was great.
He had like 88 rushing yards, over 40 receiving yards, and a touchdown. He balled out.
Yeah.
Very good game. Very impressive.
I just wanted to say real quick, going back to your Travis Kelce thing, Aaron. I mean, we've talked about this already kind of in our group chats, is like Travis Kelce might be the most consistent out of, like, if you put him against Gronk, because I remember, even Belichick, who doesn't say anything ever about any player. Do you remember the time he said about Gronk, we've just gotten used to playing without him because he's always injured, he's always out. I remember all that. Was Kelce clutch in that game or was Gronk?
Oh, Gronk was more clutch.
Like I think Gronk has the edge on the
definitely.
clutch right now. Kelsey's got to catch that ball. I thought that went for Travis Kelce.
Drop.
It was you might have had two people hanging off you, but the top half of your torso was wide open. You got to catch that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy. You look at the stat line, and he somehow still finished with 133 receiving yards, which I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, when did that happen? But so he still put up a ton of yards, but it was a lot of it was in garbage time, and it obviously didn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
Like they kind of took all the big plays out of it. And Gronk had 67 yards, but I mean, he had
two touchdowns,
two of some of the biggest plays of the game, and he had that massive play up the middle, which was a beautiful throw by Brady over the middle. I mean, plays perfectly that he got about 25 yards on. So he had the big play.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Here, but it didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what was wrong. Kelce was not the factor that I thought he was going to be, even though he got over 100 yards. It's crazy you can say that about a guy who got over 100 yards, but he didn't make that big game impact. And the other thing is that I did get right is I said that Brady would have to play pretty much an impeccable game. And he did. He was completely mistake-free.
He was completely mistake-free. I thought that was his best game of the year. And he even said that, like, afterwards in the post game. He said this was our best game of the year. I thought that was his best game of the year.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 72% like completion percentage, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, finished with 125 rating. Made all the good decisions, made none of the poor decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He did what he had to do, not stupid picks, and he did that perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to see from him.
Yep.
And then
I don't remember my other predictions.
I just know you pretty much hit all three of yours.
Yeah,
Um,
Tyler, you were the best. I was completely wrong about turning the ball over as far as Tampa goes. Like I thought that the only way they could win is by getting 7 points every time, and I was wrong because they punted the ball a couple times. I'm like, you can't punt the ball. Like a 3-and-out opening drive. That's like, here we go. Here comes Patrick Mahomes, and they just, they weren't any better. Todd Bowles was ready to go. I will say the one I was completely right about was Kansas City's defense in the red zone. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
they were literally like, what was it? They scored every time except the one time, and they should have scored that one drive that Leonard Fournette just couldn't get in. But I mean, they Brady threw to a lineman and it hit him in the head, and he should have caught it, but he didn't. Like
Right.
I mean, they did make a good play. They made a good stop. I got to give him credit for that. Like the defender got his hand in there and made sure that ball fell down, and then they stopped him on the 1 yard line. But beyond that, it was actually worse than what they were all season. Like it was, how many times they get in the red zone? Like 6 times, and they scored on 5 of them or something like that.
Right.
Even though
yeah.
one was a field goal. Like that's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really bad.
It was like yeah, there you that stat last week uh giant in this game. 100%. It was so bad.
Yeah, I agree. What do you guys think were the biggest plays of the game this year, or in this game? I thought. Let me go first. I thought Fournette's TD was huge. Um, Tyler, I'm right there with you as far as that goes. Like when I saw that, even though I wasn't, like, just because of my paranoia, I wasn't ready to cancel the game at that
Mm-hmm.
point. But at that point, I was like, they just gave that up. Like it's pretty much over. Secondly, I thought Patrick Mahomes' pick, like that was a spot that they had to get something,
Right.
and that ball just became an interception, and he kneeled down in the end zone. And I don't remember if it was. I don't remember if Patrick Mahomes ever got the ball back after that. I think they might have. I don't. No, they didn't, because they ran out the clock at that point. Like that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
Once you threw it in the end zone and threw a pick, that's it. The game's over.
Right.
And then I thought, just overall, the game management, it wasn't that like um the typical Andy Reid don't know how to manage a clock game management. Like this, the end of the first half was horrible. Um, but really the thing that stuck out in my mind was actually the third quarter into the fourth quarter. Like I thought, like at that point in the third quarter, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were just trying to run out the clock. And I almost thought that the Kansas City Chiefs did it for them. They took too long to get down into the red zone. And I don't even think that, I think that drive they didn't even end up scoring, but
Mm-hmm.
no, they got a field goal on that drive. Um, no, they didn't actually. They didn't. I'm wrong. But they took, I thought they would probably use the rest of the third quarter to score, and then they would turn the ball over at the start of the fourth quarter. They used like 2.5 minutes of the fourth quarter to not even score. Like they used it was like 6 minutes or 5 minutes of the clock, and they didn't do anything with it. I felt like that was bad game management. Like this is Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense that typically it's like a lightning bolt and they've scored. And then they somehow have the ball back again, and there they go again, like scoring again. Like they can
Mm-hmm.
put up 30 points in a half easily. What was it? The first game they faced Tampa Bay was the game Tyreek Hill had like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns or something like that. Like
Yeah.
they could be lightning fast at that. And it came to the Super Bowl, and they just couldn't put it together. They couldn't do it. The game management was horrible.
It was. It was really bad. Um, I'll do my biggest. You asked what were the biggest three plays of the game.
Yeah, just in general, you don't have to do three, but what were the biggest plays?
I think personally the biggest of the whole game was that Leonard Fournette touchdown.
Yeah.
That was, it was the kill shot in my opinion, which it turned out to be. At the time, I thought it was the kill shot. It ended up being the kill shot. It was unexpected. It was a good chunk of the play wasn't drawn up, I don't think, to be a touchdown. It was a run to the outside, gain 10, 15 yards maybe out of it. And nobody could catch up to him. He just got through a hole. Somebody, I think it was Gronk, put up a really good block. And so that was just, I think it was that was the biggest play of the game that really just kind of sealed the deal. And yeah, when I was watching it, I even texted our group chat. I was like, I think that's it. And everybody's like, stop, don't say anything. But I really, that was the kill shot, in my opinion. That was it. That was the big play. That was the one that was like, it wasn't a turning point because there really was no turning point. It was Bucks the whole time. So yeah,
Did you see, by the way, it was reported, this has nothing to do with that, but the Antonio Brown touchdown, apparently the coaches said he ran the wrong route. and Brady still found him and got the touchdown.
I didn't see that. That's funny.
For me, it would, I don't know, I think is the Chiefs' second drive. It was actually a drop by Tyreek Hill that it was another play where he was scrambling for his life, evading defenders everywhere, throws up an absolute strike to Hill, and it just bounces off of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a
Yeah, I do
touchdown.
remember that.
And that was right at the beginning of the game. They make that touchdown, that could change the course of the whole game, but they didn't. And then Tampa ended up scoring on their next possession. So I think that drop was huge. I agree with you. The Fournette touchdown was the dagger. That was the play that pretty much guaranteed the victory for the Buccaneers. And the other thing is, we talked about it earlier, but just the Bucks' efficiency on offense, particularly in the red zone, was just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, they did the exact opposite of what Kansas City did. Right? They capitalized on every single opportunity. They get the ball, they'd score.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were like the biggest game changers, I think, for the game.
Right. I agree.
On that note of capitalizing and efficiency and all those buzzwords that I've heard in New England for years, you guys want to answer a few questions for me? You want to play like a 20 question game? It's really only 7, but
Sure.
you want to play like a 20 question game?
Sure.
That's only 7 questions.
It's only 7 questions. Yeah, because that's all we need to get this point across. Now, I mentioned this before, but just you guys answer this. Did the last couple of Tampa Bay's games kind of feel like Patriots games to a degree? Like how the offense ran?
Yeah.
Didn't they feel,
Absolutely.
obviously,
Yeah.
but just not only the offense, just like the overall way the game came out felt like a Patriots game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Question number 2, define the Patriot way.
Well, if you're Danny Amendola, it's Tom Brady.
You're skipping ahead, bro. You're skipping ahead. But define, if you didn't know Danny Amendola's comment, what would be the Patriots way? Define it.
Well, I think we just used a bunch of the words. I don't want to just say the same thing. Efficiency. Like, the Patriot way is no mistakes. Like you minimize mistakes. You capitalize on opportunities that are given to you. And I know it's a slogan in New England that we hear all the time, but it's do your job. It's like, hey, you're here to do your job. Focus on what you do and do it very, very well. Don't worry about anything else.
Right.
So I think those are probably like the 3 biggest things that I think of with the Patriot way.
Right, because the whole do your job thing that Bill Belichick did was, we're playing a team sport, right? But you singularly have a position to do yourself, not with the team, not with everybody else. You yourself have a thing you need to do for the team, right? And so I think it was a lot of focused on what can you do yourself to execute your job perfectly. How can you prepare for that? So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think I kind of in those same line. I didn't think of do your job, which was so obvious. I should have put that down, but I put in quotes on my little questionnaire, the Bill Belichick, good in all 3 phases of the game,
Talking
offense,
loogies
defense,
in between.
If I had a nickel for every time that Bill Belichick said all 3 phases of the game, I would be rich.
Right. Like that's the Patriot way, is that do your job in
Doge.
all
It's
3 phases of the game, right? Oh,
Mhm.
Doge. Good job, Aaron. Question number 3. Did Tampa Bay become significantly more disciplined in all 3 phases of the game this past year?
Yes.
Aaron?
You saw the progression throughout the season. I think
Yeah, we're having
then I read it.
We're having trouble with your mic, Aaron. So I heard you say yes. So
Yes.
I would say less penalties and turnovers for sure. Question number 4. What month is typically the best month for New England Patriots? Just in our as we have watched this team over the course of the 20 years, What month is the best month for the New England Patriots?
December.
What was the Tampa Bay's best month this past year?
December.
December.
What?
The only month this year they didn't lose. The December, that early January game, but the month of December, that
Right.
winter football. What if the Patriot way is actually the Brady effect? Would that be something we would consider?
I think it's fair to at least question that, and
Tyler?
we had to
Um.
talk about it earlier.
Oh. Yeah. Yes.
And then okay.
Sure.
And then question number 7. Does the Patriot or does the Brady effect I don't know if it's effect or affect. I wrote effect. I don't know. I always get those messed up. Anyways, does the Brady effect affect all 3 phases of the game? In other words, does Brady's drive as a competitor and character as a leader improve not only his offense, which is the only part of the team that he actually plays on, but the overall football operation?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you can totally see that. This was a weird year for football teams. Everybody, and especially for Tom Brady coming from a completely different conference, going to a completely different climate, playing with a completely different team under a completely different coach. He has, at the beginning of the year, I was a doubter a little bit. I was like, oh man, he looks washed up. But then you go throughout the season and he just progresses, gets better and better and better and better. As Brady gets better, the defense gets better. I don't know about special teams. I really don't. Does anybody pay attention to special teams?
There was less mistakes overall. That's really where
Sure.
like special teams, you're not supposed to notice anything, and when they make mistakes, you notice it, right? So
Right.
I don't know if they got any better or less, but the overall operation became, more disciplined, less penalties, right?
Exactly.
So I said all of that to say this. I set you guys up for something, and Tyler, I'm glad you said what you just said, because here's the conclusion I came to. Now, I want you to couple that questionnaire I just did with this. When Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have faced off in big games that matter, AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, Brady is 2-0 because his team made less mistakes, not only on the offense but also on the defense.
Right.
And I say that to say this. I realize we've talked about on the show, like, Brady might be outdone by Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes might be able to get more stats and more Super Bowls and has more talent and more athleticism and, the whole thing. I don't think at this point, unless something changes. Now, if they go back to back, like if it's this thing that comes out and it's like Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson, where every other year they're going back to back in the finals, which I welcome, by the way.
Yeah.
Like if that's what, and they kind of go back and forth with who wins out, then I would be willing to change this conversation. But until then, there is never going to be a point, no matter how many awards Patrick Mahomes wins, where he beats out Tom Brady, because the Tom Brady affected team is 2-0 versus a Patrick Mahomes team. And I know the penalties and this and that and all the excuses in the offensive line and and I don't hang that on Patrick Mahomes necessarily. My point is that Tom Brady not only affects his offense, but on 2 different occasions with 2 different teams, with 2 different head coaches in 2 different conferences in 2 different games, he has beaten Patrick Mahomes because he not only affects how well his offense plays, but he affects the entire football operation. And I don't know if there's ever been anybody like that in the history of sports. Maybe Michael Jordan. Maybe because Michael Jordan starts playing and they win championships, and then he leaves and they suck, and he comes back and they win again. Like that is the level Tom Brady's now on. And I don't know if just because Patrick Mahomes might blow him out of the water because of how the game's played now and how good he is at it. And I love watching Patrick Mahomes play. And I'm all for Patrick Mahomes winning more championships. But it will always hang over his head that when he faced a Tom Brady team, he's 0-2 when it mattered. And
Yep.
I don't know if you can, you can replace Tom Brady with Patrick Mahomes as a result of that.
Sure. Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. And one thing I've noticed, and I think you guys might have seen that in like the post game conferences, is the leadership effect that Tom Brady has it's ridiculous. I mean, you had Antonio Brown was practically crying in his post game interview because Brady took him into his home. He pretty much
gave him a chance when no one else would. He worked with him like specifically, and he was so appreciative of that. The defensive players who are like, you know, half his age, they speak so highly of him. It's just, it shows you that Brady, like when he goes somewhere, he brings a style of leadership to a team where he gets everyone to buy in
Right.
and be focused. Like, and more, no one had any bad things to say about him. The whole team loves him, and I think that's an intangible that he probably has better than any player in all team sports. I mean, Jordan, he pushed his guys, but let's be honest, he was kind of a d-bag.
Right.
A lot of guys hated him, you know. But Brady, he could push guys, but I think it's they see that he cares about them, and he cares about winning, but he also cares about his guys playing well and having fun. And I don't know, I think his leadership quality is. I heard someone say it on ESPN, like they need to write a book on his leadership style, because like the guy's he's a guru at it. He's able to get guys to buy in no matter where he is and get them to play to their utmost potential. So I don't think anyone's ever going to surpass that Brady has. It's impeccable.
Yeah,
No, I completely agree. He's just built, and something that I think that the reason that so many of these young guys look up to him is he's not egotistical.
Right.
You know, he knows how good he is, but he doesn't let that get to his head and look down on people. And that's something I think that in his later years, the past, 5 to 7 years, however, whatever, the Brady legend itself is, he's playing with kids who grew up watching him play.
Yeah.
And so when you get somebody like that on your team, like if I had the opportunity to play with Tom Brady, I would give 300%. I would drop dead on that field trying, because that's the person that I've looked up to for 20 years of my whole life, And so I think that's the mentality of some of these young kids that are coming in, is they're like, this is Tom Brady. He's a legend. He's a winner. And I want to try my best. I want to give my all to be able to be successful with him.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I like this Tom Brady. What did you call it? The Tom Brady,
the Brady effect.
The Brady effect. That's a good book deal.
Yeah,
Barnes and Noble, hit us up.
Bro, you could name his leadership style the Brady effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, people know he's an animal on the field, but he is really relational off the field. And I just he might not be the most talented to ever play. Actually, he isn't. He's not the most talented. He's not the most athletic, but he's the biggest student of the game, the most disciplined, and the most relational.
Yep.
And in that sport, those three things might matter more.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that quality, man.
Speaking of discipline, Tyler, do you want to talk about these penalties? I know you're all geeked up about this.
My goodness. So we had, all right. So everybody on social media has probably seen and heard that penalties were a big part of this game. There were 11 penalties, or was it how many? 11 penalties on the Chiefs the whole game, and 1 or 2 on the Bucks. I think.
No, I think it was 4. I think they had 4.
4. Okay, so lopsided on penalties, and people, there was 2 or 3 penalties where like even some ex-referees and NFL referee experts or whatever came out and said those shouldn't have been calls. Okay, so you have the one where Tom Brady threw an interception that turned into a holding call. That shouldn't have been a call. I'll agree. Sure.
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
That's fine. That's not a penalty. That shouldn't have been called a penalty. And then you have the other one that was Mike Evans getting tripped. That ball wasn't catchable. Shouldn't have been pass interference.
No, it definitely wasn't.
The ball wasn't catchable, not pass interference.
But the way that went down in like real time, like if you slow it down, it was clearly not like. But when I first saw it, I was like, the guy, it's going to be a tripping call.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think he sold it a little bit for sure. Yeah. But I mean, he touched his foot and then he falls down. Any referee that's seeing that at 20 miles an hour, or however fast they're running, is going to throw that penalty.
Oh yeah,
and then they're going to get together and talk about it.
Yep. And then you have the other holding call in the end zone on Tyrann Mathieu, and so all the other penalties were fine, right? And so everybody's focusing on this a whole lot. And they're like, oh, look at that. The refs are helping out Tom Brady again, blah, blah, blah. That narrative makes me so mad. First of all, because if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they were one of the most penalized defenses they've been one of the most penalized defenses over the past few years. Everybody remembers the 2018 AFC Championship or whatever that season AFC Championship game when Burfict lined up offsides like 5 times in the game. Who was it?
D Ford.
Yeah, sorry. When D Ford lined up offsides, and then you had in this game somebody lined up offsides on a field goal, got him the first down, results in a touchdown. So people love to ignore the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are a penalized defense, and they're bad. They do not play well. Okay. Something else that people love to focus on is the fact that over 4 quarters, Patrick Mahomes was not able to get into the end zone one time. Not one time was he able to get a touchdown. Why are we blaming this on the refs when your offense could not score 6 points in a touchdown? You had to settle for field goals every time. They got in the red zone, I don't know how many times, at least 3 times, because the score was 9, at least 3 times, and they completely pooped the bed, and they could not get into the end zone. Why are we blaming the refs? Okay, so let's take away those 3 calls. One of them I'm pretty sure ended up in a field goal. Not all 3 of those calls were I don't think all 3 of those bad calls were touchdown results. So let's even take away those, right? The game's still at 14-9. You're still losing. You're still
I was just
losing
gonna say,
because you can't get into the end zone. And they're like, well, what about all the no calls on the Bucks? If you can show me one blatant no call on the Bucks, I will recant everything I've said. But there wasn't any. There wasn't any these like, oh, that should have been called, blah, 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 blah. Tom Brady threw an amazing game. The Bucks played. The Bucks defense was top of the tier. And the Kansas City Chiefs in all 3 phases of the game were absolutely, maybe not all 3, but in offense and defense were absolutely terrible. Okay, so stop blaming the referees and blame your O-line. Blame your coaching staff for not coming up with a run game. Blame everybody else who didn't put much effort in. Okay, stop blaming the referees. Stop coming up with excuses. We know this is like, you guys lost for 50 years straight, and then you won one, and now you're like, well, everybody owes me something. I won last year. We're supposed to hashtag run it back. I don't care. It's what happens. This is football. You can't overturn these calls. You need to step up, and you need to do your job better.
Wow.
Good take, Tyler. I will say to your credit, you just needed to find a team that could score 10 points. That's it. Yeah. All the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had to do was get 1 touchdown and a field goal, and they won the game. So you could run back hashtag run back as many of those points as you want.
Yeah.
Like they just needed 1 touchdown and a field goal, which they have that. So and then some. And then I would say that they were bad in all 3 phases of the game because it wasn't just one person that lined up offsides on that field goal. It was both of the outside guys. Like they were both offsides. When they did the replay, they were like, now they could call it on this guy, or they could call it on how do you have 2 people offsides? Like, did you not practice that? This is one of the simplest things. He's gonna get a chip shot in. Just don't be offsides and give him the first down.
Mm-hmm.
I heard was it Max Kellerman on ESPN? He said that the Chiefs are the sloppiest dominant team he's ever seen. Talking about them this year. He's like, yeah, they had the best record in the league. They win games. He's like, but they're the sloppiest team in the past couple of years. Like, they stupid penalties going all the way back to the D Ford one. And then even throughout the season, we talked about how there's games they won where they didn't look good.
Right.
The stupid plays, poor clock management, bad penalties, and it kicked them in the butt in the Super Bowl. And so I just love that. So they're the sloppiest dominant team I've ever seen play.
Well, that's true, but back to the 3 phases thing. Actually, I completely forgot about this. How about those shanked punts?
I know. Those bad.
Good point.
The shanked punts,
back
and then
punts.
Okay, and then so he. What about the one when he punts it and it's it's probably like a 50-yard punt, and it gets called back because there was holding on the Chiefs. Okay, so he has to punt again, and he punts it like 22 yards down the field, out of bounds. Yep. So all 3 phases of the game, the Kansas City Chiefs decided they were not going to try. in the biggest game of the entire year. So if you're a Kansas City Chief, if you are somebody who, I boiled it down to this because I've had people comment on my stuff that aren't even Chiefs fans. They're like, oh, Tom Brady loves the refs paid. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, stop. Your only excuse is that you either hate Tom Brady because he ruined your entire life, or you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan and you don't like losing because you're not used to it the past 2 years. Get over it. The refs did not blow that game. They made some bad calls. Your team is the one to blame. Be mad at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. The refs weren't the one who made Mahomes run almost 500 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I wanted to talk about this too. Speaking of just kind of undisciplined. What would you say? I see his name and I want to say Tyrion, but it's Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu. He posted something on social media and it has me triggered. It has me very triggered. Then he since deleted it. And I'm just gonna say this. If you're famous and you post something on social media and then delete it, you accomplish nothing.
Right.
You're a coward. Because what you did is that you said something and then you tried to walk it back by deleting it, but you're famous. So everybody and their brother who saw it took a screenshot of it and sent the text message to a friend did you see that so-and-so said this? It's viral. Like deleting it is a cowardice thing. Mm-hmm. But he said this. He said he called me talking about because him and Brady went back and forth on the field, right? And so he said he tweeted this out and then he deleted it. He said he called me something I won't repeat, but yeah, I'll let the media throw me under the bus as if I did something or said something to him. Okay, this had me angry, legitimately angry, because when he says he called me something but I won't repeat it in 2021, what are you thinking? And I saw it on social media, people asking these questions. What are you thinking that it's implied there? Some sort of sexual or racist slur. Right. And here's what I have to say about that. If he said it, come out and tell us. Don't be feckless and tweet something and then delete it. Like, that is such a cowardice, feckless, like, crappy thing to do. If he said something legitimately like a slur, come out and say it, and then I'll change my position completely. But the fact that he did it, and the fact that he raised questions about it, it's just it has me like, because what you're saying there is you're trying to utilize cancel culture to cover up your embarrassment. You got owned on the field. And so you went to social media, which isn't just not just social media, but to Twitter, which is the absolute cesspool. It's like when crap rolls downhill, it rolls down to Twitter because Twitter's the worst at this sort of thing. And you posted on there and you made implications. And I honestly, talking about cancel culture, he needs to be canceled for saying that. Like, seriously, I have no patience. The amount of work that I've had to do over the past years, like in my personal life, realizing I've never been a racist. I've never thought about racism in that context, but I've had to do like a lot of learning since I moved to Texas and I saw it firsthand. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but like I became friends with a lot more people that were different ethnicities, and I got to communicate with them and learn about the struggle. And it's a very legitimate struggle. And like the things that I do in my personal life, which, Morgan Wallen just came out and the video TMZ just posted of him. And I love country music. I'm probably the only loser on this show that likes country music because I know you two don't. But like he used the N-word while drunk, which shows that he thought he could get away with doing something so disingenuous and so disgusting and thought he could get away with it. And what that reveals is that he uses that language in his regular talk because it came out when he was intoxicated, and as a result of that, I have not listened to a single bit of his music because I take racism seriously and I take using those slurs seriously. So if you are going to get on social media and imply that someone did that and then delete it, you deserve to be canceled. I have no patience for that. You better come out and say, and that story better be corroborated by the refs and by the other players on that team. And if it's not, and you're just trying to cover up your embarrassment, shut up and get off the social media. Get off of it. Also, while we're on this rant, a buddy of ours, Kyle, sent me something about how people who root for Tom Brady are white privileged and they need to check their privilege. While I'm at it, I root for Tom Brady because in 2001, a week after 9/11, when parents were being told that they need to have their kids watch TV, I decided to sit down and watch a football game with my dad. And in that game, Drew Bledsoe got hit down by the Jets, almost died. And some guy named Tom Brady, who no one ever heard of, stepped in. It's been a good little story since, don't you think? Like, don't tell me that because I'm a white male that I root for Tom Brady because he's a white male. No, I root for Tom Brady because he was the quarterback of my team for 20 years. And it's just hard not to root for a guy that's the best to ever play the game. And if he wasn't in that game, by the way, I would have rooted for Patrick Mahomes because I really like Patrick Mahomes too. I am I'm sorry. This might get us like totally taken off the air forever. I'm just so tired of this cancel culture thing that gets leveraged in the most disingenuous ways. Like, get off of it. It has nothing to do with that. And if someone said something and it's legitimate, come out and tell us what it is so we can deal with it.
Right.
Absolutely. No, that was when it was released that Tyrann Mathieu said that. Instantly, the first thing I thought of is he's butthurt that he just got whooped, and so he's putting something out there to as kind of like one last ditch swing at Tom to like, because like Eric, you're correct when he says I'm not going to say what he said to me. Automatically in our culture right now, everyone's thinking, oh, he said the N-word.
Yeah.
And he knew that.
Yeah.
That's 100% what he was trying to do. So he's trying to discredit Brady, drag him down because he's mad that he got whooped and that Brady threw that touchdown directly at him. So it's a cowardice. It was a cowardice move. Now again, if it comes out that Brady did say that, like you said, I'll completely recant that, and that'd be, then Brady's 100% in the wrong. But the fact that Matthew's not saying it, I don't think it actually happened.
Right, because
I don't think so either.
That whole Mason Rudolph and who was it?
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett last year, he came out and he was like, oh, he came out and straight up said it. He's like, oh, he said a racial slur to me. It's like, so what's stopping Tyrann Mathieu from doing that? And what's stopping him is that it didn't happen. He probably called him. I'm obviously not going to say what I think he called him, but he probably called him something that not a lot of people like to be called, anyways. If you're a man, if I could get that across. I like the word feckless.
It's a good word.
That's a great. It's a great way to describe exactly what that is in that mentality. If he really said something that should be addressed, let's address it. Don't do a cryptic tweet and then delete it. It's just it's so stupid. It's bad. It's bad publicity on his part, I think, because I think a lot of people are having the same ideas that we are here. Is that why would you delete it? Why'd you delete that? So.
Yeah, if he really said it, then let's talk about it. Seriously. And I'll say a lot of bad things about Brady at that point because I don't have patience for that. But
exactly.
Don't leverage it to cover up your embarrassment. That's disgusting.
I had to Google feckless. That's I'm gonna admit that.
Go ahead. Give the listeners a definition.
Lacking initiative or strength of character.
Ooh.
/ irresponsible. So,
perfect.
Good use of the word, Eric.
Definitely showed some serious character flaws.
You went to Bible college.
The Under.500 grammar podcast.
I am not the grammar guy here. Everybody knows that. Who knows me? I have so many typos and
just spelling. Just the spelling.
I have good vocabulary. I just can't ever say.
Sorry, vocabulary podcast. My bad.
There you go.
So, oh, Eric, you got a little thing here. I want to talk about this next here. This is good.
just do you think it was intentional that Brady threw to former Patriots in the end zone? He threw at Matthew once Matthew started chirping at him. Like, so do you wonder?
It was also really good. I know they say Brown ran the wrong route, but he was wide open on that whip route too.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if like it was intentional or Brady's just like, oh, that's easy.
I guess it just worked out that way, huh?
Yeah, it's probably just a coincidence, but watching the Tom Brady to Rob Gronkowski touchdown in the Super Bowl 2 times. Oh, the memories, man, the memories.
It was good.
Yeah,
I had no problem.
It was great to watch.
I had no problem rooting for Brady in this game. Just none. One of our friends who commented on one of my posts on Facebook. I tried not rooting for him, and I saw his face and I couldn't do it. I'm like, yeah, there's just some people. I remember watching a game with Kurt Schilling because I was like Kurt Schilling after that bloody sock incident, and he eventually left the team. And I watched the game. He went like 8 2/3 without a hit, and then some some jabroni got up there and hit one,
Right.
just sliced one into like center field. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, man, just give him his no-hitter. But I was rooting for Kurt Schilling that whole time.
Right. So we talk about, 3 phases of a football game, right? And in the Super Bowl, we have 3 phases of it. We have the first half, halftime, and second half, or in the second half, and in between those, we have commercials and stuff. So what did we think about the Super Bowl commercials this year?
I thought overall they were a dud for the most part.
Some of them made me laugh. I'll admit that. Some of them were so stupid that they made me laugh.
Yeah, I like the Matthew McConaughey one. I always like Doritos commercials.
3D
They always do
Doritos,
something.
Yeah, that was really
that
good.
was good. I appreciated. I rolled my eyes at the Paramount Plus one because it's just another streaming app.
Oh my
but
goodness.
I appreciated that they incorporated. Because I'm just such a nerd, so I appreciated like that Patrick Mahomes with Patrick Stewart was narrating it. He's Captain Picard, and that Spock was on there, and there was just and then the SpongeBob came up in the halftime show. Like there was just some good things that I just appreciated.
Yeah.
But overall, I hate that I can't. Between the morning show, I listen to Bobby Bones in the morning a lot, which is a country show, and then me and my wife watch a lot of like Discovery and TLC and stuff. And all I hear is stuff about Discovery Plus. So I'm just so sick and tired of hearing about these new streaming services.
Right.
And they're like, it's only $5. Well, yeah, okay. So if I put Disney Plus and then Discovery Plus and then Paramount Plus all together, and then pay for internet, I'm still at $100 just to watch the shows I want to watch.
Exactly. I think the one that I liked the one I thought that was the funniest was that Matthew McConaughey 3D Dorito one. That was really fun. That got me really good. And I think the one I appreciated the most, and this one, I don't know if this is a controversial statement or not, but it was that Toyota one about the swimmer, the Olympic swimmer that had no
that
legs.
was really good.
Oh, that was a really good one.
A lot of conservatives on social media are like, this was a pro-life thing. I kind of got a more of a pro-adoption thing, which I guess if you want to say that's pro-life, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you my stance on either of those things, but I am pro-adoption because there are kids without parents who need parents. So
it was just a good, compassionate story.
Yeah. And it just pulled at my heartstrings. Like, that's adorable, the whole, adopting her and then her becoming something that nobody expected her to ever become. And so overall, I think that was my favorite commercial to watch, just because I'm a softie, I'm a sucker. And I thought that just pulled at my heartstrings. I thought it was great. That was a good commercial.
100 times better car commercial than the one I'm going to say we need to refuse to talk about, but we'll just mention it. It's that Jeep commercial. I'm not even going there with that. Let's not talk about
that. I knew
that.
you were going to say that.
Because I'm sure we're talking about commercials, and I'm sure some of our friends want to know if we're going to talk about that. I don't have much to say about it.
What? Can I just ask what it was? I don't think I remember.
The Reunited in America.
Go watch it on YouTube. It was
the Bruce Springsteen one.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that was filmed like 20 minutes away from me.
So that part's cool.
The direct center of the continental United States is in Lebanon, Kansas, which is a few minutes away. I've been there before. I took my dad there when I visited.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool spot. So when I saw that commercial, I was like, everybody was like, hey, that's Lebanon. I was like, oh, that's sick. That was really cool. So anyways,
I didn't think they were that great overall.
Yeah,
they were forgettable.
It was forgettable commercials. Nothing like the early 2000s, like Budweiser and Doritos and all those good ones.
You know what I did like is the Sam Adams one that they let the Budweiser, the Clydesdales like free or something like that, because Budweiser decided to like stand out of the Super Bowl commercials because they wanted to use their money to raise awareness for. I thought Budweiser did because there was no Clydesdale commercial. There was no Clyde. That's like an icon of the Super Bowl, is like the Coca-Cola commercials and the Budweiser commercials. And I think they both were out because of raising awareness for the coronavirus vaccine. So here comes that guy from Boston. And he lets the Clydesdales free and then drinks Sam Adams. Like, I thought that was great. Like, that was a great jab.
That is pretty good. So yeah, the commercials overall were pretty underwhelming, but let's talk about this halftime show.
Aaron, I like The Weeknd.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. What did you think of the halftime show?
So I like The Weeknd, so I'm gonna like the songs that are played regardless. because I just think he's a good singer. I'm a fan of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a dancer, so I wasn't expecting him to go out there and start dancing like Justin Timberlake or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which some people are like, "Oh, it's boring." It's like that's just not who he is. I do think the guys with the white masks on was a little weird.
Did you see
But
why he did it?
I saw that just recently.
no, I didn't see
Well, because
why.
originally the whole story behind that is I won't tell the whole story, but he accepted a Grammy, I think, with that mask on to make it look like he had plastic surgery, and then he did a video recently. I forget what that song's called, but he did a video recently with him with fake plastic surgery on. It was like fake whatever makeup, and
Right.
it made him look really ugly. And he was trying to portray this whole message of like, we have to, I forget what but go look it up. It's really cool. But the halftime show I thought was that was one of my favorite. Because I really do enjoy The Weeknd. His music is unique in
It is.
such a saturated pop genre these days. And so his music is unique, and I like he's really, really talented. And so, but the thing I loved the most was when he did he had all those guys get on the field and they start doing their little, routine, and he comes out and it's like this like really cool transition intro into a song called Blinding Lights, which is one of my favorite songs by him. And I thought it was executed perfectly. One of my favorite, that's gonna go down as one of my favorite like transitions into a song of live music that I've ever seen. And it was executed perfectly. I'm analyzing The Weeknd's halftime show like it's a sports game, and I'm really not trying to. I just loved it. I thought it was great.
He spent $7 million of his own money
$7 million.
That's
into
cool.
that halftime show because he wanted it to be like really good and something different. Just like, oh well, and he didn't get paid for it either.
Right.
And he spent $7 million, so I thought that was pretty cool. Of
He
him
wanted to put
do
on a
that.
good show.
Yeah, that was his main thing. He's like, yeah, I don't need to make a dime. I just want to put on a show for people. So I respect that.
So as the lone boy that didn't really enjoy it that much, so I don't mind the Weekenders. As you guys know, full disclosure, I listen to sports radio and country music. That's just like my default switch. Is when I don't know what to listen to, I find the country music station. It's just what I grew up on. It's just what I've always listened to. It's just is me. But I do like listening to. I obviously have always loved Justin Timberlake, and I used to listen to Radio 92.9 all the time, and when we all lived in Boston, like that alternative station. So I loved all that stuff. So
92.9, wow.
I loved the ending. The whole choreography of the ending was really cool. Of the what did you say it was? Blinding Lights? Is that what that's? Yeah. I thought the intro when he started like moonwalking, I thought it was just like a ripoff of Michael Jackson. And I didn't understand the whole mask thing until it was explained to me. So I guess that part's cool. I don't know if I wanted to go to Urban Outfitters and look at records and not buy anything and leave and then listen to the Weekenders while I was there, I would. Like, that's what I felt like. Okay, so this is really my take. And I felt like this with the commercials the past 2 years too. It's very safe. Like, I thought that was a very, very safe halftime show.
And what do you want? Janet Jackson's boobs?
No, I don't want that either. I was just talking to my parents about that. I will.
Oh, that's funny.
Was that the 2004 Super Bowl, which was arguably the best like Patriots game or the best Patriots like year, and the only thing that Good Morning America was talking about was Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. Like,
yeah,
it's I'm not gonna go there with that, but I don't know. I felt like it was kind of safe, and I felt like all the Super Bowl commercials, because people are so scared to say anything or do anything that might be a little like I don't mean risque. I don't even mean that, but just risky, like just something that's totally out there could get them canceled. So I felt like it was just a guy that did a safe performance, and I thought it was good. Like, I thought the Blinding Lights thing was really cool, and I thought how they did it, and they were clearly like they choreographed it, and I think they were all like 6 feet apart too when they did it. So I thought that was like superbly cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would rather AC/DC up there rocking and rolling. Like, that'd be way cooler.
Yeah. Well, no, it's
a halftime show. Like, come on.
All right.
What I'm hearing is you want wardrobe malfunctions and Shakira on there doing a tribal war cry.
No, I don't want that. And I thought Katy Perry's was stupid too, riding sharks and all that. Like,
oh man.
Oh, that was bad.
Can I just say though that you brought up the Janet Jackson Justin Timberlake thing, and lately this hasn't been the case, but that show ruined every churchgoer's Super Bowl party at their church halftime show for the rest of eternity. No church is going to watch the halftime show at their
Instead,
church.
they
watch like a
Christian
video
skits.
on the Constitution or something.
Oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. Do you remember, Tyler, the 2014 Super Bowl that we watched, and we decided to put on a YouTube video that had to do with one of the guys' like master's degree about the Star Spangled Banner, and by the
Yep.
end of it, all the old people were standing up singing the Star Spangled Banner for the halftime.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, dude, cringe.
Oh, meanwhile, half of us are watching the halftime show on our mobile devices.
Yeah. Oh man, dude.
So
Oh, that
bad.
was so funny. So yeah, overall, it was a great game, great halftime show in my opinion. Commercials weren't so good. Do we have anything
Just boil
else to
down
talk-
that last hour into
Yeah,
one sentence.
Do we have anything else? Final thoughts. What are your final thoughts on the Super Bowl?
7 freaking rings. That's
7
my
rings.
final thought.
Yeah. I don't I don't know if I just don't know if anybody can ever top that.
No,
And
that'll
I
never
put
be-
it on
never be
Facebook.
broken.
I think Brady's better than Jordan now. Like, not just the rings, but how he got the team to win and everything, and how he did it. It's bad. And it's apples to orange. And I'm not trying. It's one of my good friends said that to me, and I just disagree. I just think competitive sports at the top of his game in his league, I would take Brady over Jordan any day.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say I agree with you because I haven't given it much thought.
Yeah, I haven't either. But it's an argument. I mean, it's a valid argument.
Yeah.
Like to at least have the conversation.
Yeah, it's a conversation now. Absolutely. My final thought is the same as you guys' 7 rings. The day after, I didn't take much time to soak it in because I was busy defending it, which I didn't, which I don't think I should have had to do. But being in Kansas City being in Kansas where everybody is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and hearing throughout the whole 2 years that I've been here, how much they hate Tom Brady, how much they hate the Patriots, and how blah, 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 cheaters this, cheater that. Oh, the second day after it happened, which was today. Oh my goodness. Wow. Earlier today, I was just soaking it in, thinking about it, and being able to celebrate in my own head that my favorite football player, my favorite athlete of all time is now at the tippity top. It's just great. I love it.
I feel like we say that every year or every time he wins one. He can't get higher than this,
And he keeps
does.
going.
If he gets 8, well, stop. I don't know.
Boy,
He
I will
could.
say one more thing is that Belichick's got a lot of work to do to prove that he's relevant
No, it's a
still.
whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
But that's a whole other
we'll
conversation.
talk about that after next time.
All right. Yeah, well, that's the Super Bowl then.
Just quickly, some trade talk stuff around the league. Is Russell Wilson one out? Can I just start there? Wow, like I'm at a loss. Russell Wilson out of Seattle. Wow.
I mean, he's got a point. I mean,
He's got a great
I looked
point.
it up. 394 sacks in 9 seasons. That comes out to an average of 43 per year. To put that in perspective, this year the most sacked quarterback was Wentz. He got sacked 50 times. So averaging 43 per year means you're one of the most sacked quarterbacks every single year of your career. Valid argument.
Yeah, that's
Very
Now
valid argument.
my question is, does Russell Wilson play some fault into this? And the reason why is because remember when he signed that monster contract
Yes.
a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And a lot of people were saying, we think that might have been a mistake because now they have no money to go beef up that offensive line. And so I'm like, do we think maybe that contract could have prevented them from getting an O-line for him? Because you know how Brady he took pay cuts for a lot of his years so he could have a supporting cast. Russell didn't. And I think now that might be playing into this. Do you guys think that could be a factor here?
Yeah.
It depends on it.
It's I just there's not enough information. I really don't know. Like, yeah, it could be playing a factor.
Yeah, I don't know. It
I
depends
think
on
he's
the
at fault a
contract
little bit, at least.
stipulations.
Yeah.
Like, how much did he get paid up front? How much was in each year? How does that affect the cap?
Right.
How much is real money? How much, there's 100 different ways you can do a contract. And, how, especially in the NFL where they could pay a signing bonus of 10 million, but, but it pays out to like 25 million a year. But some of that's, you could do it so many different ways, and
Mhm.
how that affects the cap and how it affects the real spending money.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it might have, but didn't he sign it like 3 or 4 years ago? So did it affect the
Yeah.
first few years?
Well,
And now we're
that's-
4 years in. Can you not find a way to get an offensive line?
Right, and that's where, or even draft one in the first round.
Yeah,
You don't pay people out of the draft like big time money. But
especially
yeah,
a lineman.
Right. Obviously they took DK 2 years ago and that paid off, but I don't think they've drafted a lineman in the first round. And so that's like kind of like
Mhm.
your star quarterback's getting hit an average of 43 times per year, getting sacked, and you're not doing anything to beef up that line. It's bad luck.
Yeah.
Especially when the
It's real
defense
bad
is
luck.
walked out. It's no longer the League of Boom. And
Mhm.
they need League of Boom. Anyways, they need to now they have that extra money. And plus, like, the defense can't just win them games. Like, they
No.
can't just be efficient on offense. They actually have to go out and win the games. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can't have him just running around the entire time, which is pretty much what he did all year.
Yeah.
He just is running for his life. It was like the Mahomes Super Bowl, just every single game.
yeah, when I watch a Russell Wilson game in Seattle, I just expect him to have to roll out of the pocket and scramble every other play.
Every play.
Right.
And then I
Every
expect
play.
him to chuck it 50 yards and get a touchdown too, because he's just that good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I think him saying this, he did this on purpose to light a fire under the organization's butt, because he's letting them know, hey, if you want to keep me, I need to see you guys do some things. I need to see you make some changes.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to this. Are they going to do that, or is he going to be like, hey, play hardball and be like, you know what, I want to go somewhere else?
Well,
So,
and the implications that has for next year's season, not just on the Seahawks, but like as an NFL football fan, next year could be so weird, right? Because you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady as a defending Super Bowl champs, then you have the number one power ranked team as the losers of the Super Bowl. You have Aaron Rodgers probably is not going to be in Green Bay. I still don't know what's going on there.
I think he will be.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he will be.
Okay, so then, but there's a possibility that he won't. And now we're seeing this stuff that Russell Wilson's frustrated with the Seahawks, and Russell Wilson might not be in Seattle.
What if
And
Russell
Deshaun
Wilson's in
Watson's
Indy?
thing, too.
And then you have, wow, I almost said Andrew Luck. Phillip Rivers retired. And then, you have all this stuff it's going to shake up the league, and I think it could be a different league that we're watching next year, which I think is cool.
If Russell goes to Indy, they're making a deep playoff run.
Yeah.
Eric, to your point,
Yeah.
like they'd be an incredibly dangerous team, very, very dangerous.
Don't worry, all this musical chairs with quarterbacks, and I still expect Cam Newton to be back with the Patriots.
And maybe he'll throw 9 touchdowns this year and
Ooh.
improve.
Maybe he'll
I
get in the
know.
double digits and throw 10. Maybe.
Well,
A boy
let's
can
not-
dream, right? A boy can dream.
Eric, let's not put too high of expectations on him. He's fragile. He'll cry.
Yeah, he won't get down on those fumbles either. I'm still not over that. And then
We bring that up almost every other podcast.
it's so irritating. And Wentz might end up with the Bears. Like, that's
Yeah,
First
that's
of all,
a weird one too.
that's where
either
Nick
team,
Foles
my
is.
God.
And then second of all, what a horrible team if you're a quarterback to try and go to.
Yeah, it's not going to improve anything for Wentz.
Nope.
No one wins in that trade. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, And with
He
that,
could go
the
to Indy,
NFL
too,
season's
but-
done.
Yep, and it's
Yeah.
over. And you know what? It's officially baseball season, baby. I'm so excited. I know you guys are both like, okay, whatever.
Well, the Daytona
Eric's
500
a
this Sunday, so
All right,
that's kind of what I'll be
that's
in.
1 week.
Yeah, and then
You know what, Eric? Just for you, I might actually watch it.
Don't just watch the last 50 laps. That's really
Hey,
what you want to watch.
You want how little you know about my childhood is every year my uncle, my dad, my brother, and my cousin would sit down and we would watch the Daytona 500 every year for like 10 years straight.
Nice.
So that's a tradition in my household. So I might just do it.
Nice. Do it. It's the best race of the year to watch, or one of the best.
They're going to go really fast, and sometimes they're going to turn to the left.
And I tell you what, when they wreck, it'll be fun.
Really? Hold on, because this is a sport, right? We can talk about this. Did you? I just saw a really cool clip. I don't know who the driver was. It was a driver, and he was talking about how there needs to be more crashes in games, and more than half of the drivers have to wipe out in a race because it's getting boring. He said. And I was like, man, I've never agreed with somebody more. Like, I would totally watch more NASCAR if there was like guaranteed like carnage every single race.
The balance of the season is a lot of mile-and-a-halfers where it just gets strung out and you have like 10 cars in the lead lap and everyone's just lapping each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is slow. But like some of the big races or like the little short tracks, those are fun to watch because they're just banging. They're like Bristol. They're just banging on each other all day. That's how you pass at Bristol and Martinsville is you wreck the guy in front of you. Anyways, how did we get here? Let's get to the NBA.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll just do NBA real quick. There's a couple things that came up with the All-Star game, some All-Star game drama that's going on that's got me fuming right now. So there's some players who have been very vocal about saying how it's a dumb idea that they're having it because of everything going on with COVID. The guard for the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox, said this. I just got a quote from him. He said, "If I'm going to be brutally honest, I think it's stupid. If we have to wear a mask and do all of this for a regular game, then what's the point of bringing the All-Star game back? Obviously, money makes the world go round, so it is what it is." Now, it's interesting to know that Fox has never been voted into an All-Star game before. But then when asked if he is voted in and would play, he said, "If I get voted in, so be it." And said that he would play.
Oh
and
my gosh!
And
Talk
then LeBron,
about not having a backbone.
I heard about this. Didn't the league, Players Association, sign off on this? Go ahead, though.
Yes, but yeah, well, that's another thing I got to get into. But LeBron also weighed in, and he said, "I have zero energy and zero excitement for the game. I don't understand why we're having an All-Star game during a pandemic." But then it was reported that LeBron said he will still play. He just won't be excited to play. Now,
oh my gosh.
I am sorry here. This has me fuming because you know what? I'm sick of players right now just playing the fence. They're trying to get theirs, but also make it trying to sound like they're like a mighty hero or trying to be like a light to everyone. It's like, no. Listen, we all know you get paid to play in an All-Star game. There is money that comes with that. And so De'Aaron Fox saying, "Oh, it's so stupid. It's dumb. Why would we ever do this?" Oh, but if you got voted in, would you play? Yeah, so be it, but I wouldn't like it. It's like, come on, dude. And then LeBron, I love LeBron. He's a fantastic player. In my eyes, he's just under Jordan for like the greatest of all time. But dude, you can't talk about how I have no energy. I'm not gonna be happy or excited to play at all in this All-Star game because of everything that's going on in COVID, and it's just a disgrace, yada yada. And then yeah, but I'll play. I just won't be excited. So there, it's like, dude, really? Like, are you serious? You can't do that. You need to, if your conviction is that, hey, there's a pandemic going on and this is serious and we shouldn't play the game, if that's your conviction and you sit that game out because you believe that, I respect that 100% because you're at least sticking to your guns.
Yeah, at least you're consistent, right?
Right. So I'm fine with that. But you can't go on your high horse and say how it's a dumb idea and say that, well, we shouldn't be doing this, but then you're just like, but yeah, no, I'm going to play anyways. It's like, no,
yeah,
now, yes, will they get, is there a fine for not playing if you get voted in? There is. It's not that much, but it's like, if you're really, truly concerned about this pandemic and the health of individuals, you're going to pay that fine. So don't try to be something and say something that you don't truly believe in. That irked me so bad.
I just don't understand what the big deal is. Like, do they really think that, playing 60 minutes, how many, I don't even know how long basketball games
It's a 48 minutes. 12
12
minute quarters.
Oh yeah. So for playing 48 minutes, brushing up against a bunch of sweaty dudes 4 or 5 times, 3 or 4 times a week, and playing different teams and traveling. What's the difference? Why is the All-Star game any different from that?
Because
That
I
doesn't
think
make
the
any
All-Star
sense.
game. Well, let me put it this way: do you think if the league turned a blind eye to players going to the All-Star game and being able to go to local establishments and/or / have small gatherings in hotel rooms, that maybe the tone would change a little bit with this? Because I isn't like out of all the sports, the NBA the one that really likes their all-star game, and not just for the game itself,
Yes.
because it's a way they can show off their skills versus everybody else. But there's
Yeah,
also like
they
this
make a
thing they don't
whole like
talk about.
3-day thing out of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's like if something goes down at the All-Star game that because of COVID can't happen.
Yeah, it's
So they're
definitely
more
a bigger
upset about it because
spectacle.
they can't party or whatever they do.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
we'll
makes
leave it at party. Yeah.
that makes sense if you don't want to go because then the whole event becomes actually useless because you can't have fun and you're playing a game that doesn't matter. So like, all right, I get it.
Yeah, it's just I just think it's fake care at that point. It's like
Sure.
you don't care about what's going on with the pan. That's not the reason. It's like because you're still willing to play, and you just say, "Oh, I just won't be excited." It's
Just
like, man,
writing it
you're
off
just
as a pandemic issue. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's I
lame.
don't know. To me, it's just kind of I think it's pandering to the press just to make it seem like, oh, see, they care. They say it's serious too. It's like, no, that's not what's going on. It just
Mhm.
got me mad. I had to rant about that.
No, it's fine.
Go for it.
I
I
agree.
Then
I agree with you.
yeah, and then Kevin Garnett had some interesting comments earlier this week in an interview. In an interview, he said this: the game is in right now, this current NBA like period that we're in. He says the game is at another level. I don't think guys from 20 years ago could play in this game. 20 years ago, guys used their hands to control players. Now you can't use your hands. That makes defense damn near impossible. Can you imagine not hand checking Michael Jordan now? He's like, Michael Jordan? No. And then he goes on to say Steph Curry revolutionized things with being able to shoot it from distance with such consistency. Klay Thompson, Dame Lillard, these guards changed the game. I don't know if even the guards from 20 or 30 years ago could play in this time right here. It's creative, it's competitive, it's saucy, you'll get dropped. A expletive will cross you over and break your ACL these days. The game is in a great place.
Hmm.
Now, these comments angered a lot of people because I hear all the time how, well, the era that Jordan played in, or that Bird played in, or that Bill Russell played in, that was the true man's era. That was the era of, you could play hard defense. You had to be tough to play in. And the game now is soft and it's all about shooting threes. And then you have Kevin Garnett, who played in an older era where it was tougher defense, say, nah, like the players now are more skilled. They've changed it completely, and so he's drawn some heat from this, and he makes some valid points about Steph Curry and how he has changed the thing. We've talked about that on the show, how Curry has changed how the game's been played. And there's definitely is a more emphasis on a player's skill and scoring ability that players then weren't able to do. So what is it like? What do you guys think of this? Do you agree with him on it, or do you think maybe it's just a little far fetched, or he's just caught up in the moment?
I agree with him so much, because this isn't a concept that's just true for the NBA. This is a concept for basically every professional sport. The guys back in the heyday of baseball, which would be there was probably I'll say probably 60s, 70s, 80s, around there, when these the big names in baseball that everybody talks about, the legends, and even going back to the 30s and 40s, those guys could not swing a bat against any pitcher in the MLB right now. 9 times out of 10 they'd strike out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they couldn't play. Football players from back in the day could not keep up with some of the defenses and offenses of today's game. That's true. And they wouldn't stand a chance. What else? What are the other sports? Hockey, sorry. Hockey, the old hockey players, you could make a case that some of them could probably skate just as well, because skating hasn't really been, skating hasn't changed much. Skating it's kind of stayed the same through the past few decades. But, like goalies of back in the day wouldn't be able to guard or block a shot from Zdeno Chara, who shoots 104 mile an hour slap shot.
So nuts. So fast.
Yeah, it's insane. So, or I think he got up to 107 or whatever it was. But anyways, I don't think that can be just true for hockey, baseball, and football. That's also going to be true for basketball. Those guys, the way that the game has changed and the way that people play and the way that they shoot and the way that the game moves and the way that it progresses over the 48 minutes, I 100% agree that, like, you put Larry Bird on a court with the greats of today and he probably wouldn't look all that great.
I'm actually torn on that. That's a hot one, Tyler. You just triggered a lot of Boston guys right there.
Yeah.
But I stand by you. I think I'm torn on this because you used hockey as an example, and the Bruins have become a very skilled offense, right? A very skilled team. And they lost to the Blues a couple of years ago, who were just more physical. They were bigger. They were still skilled. That's just the way the game's played at this point. But they were bigger, they were tougher, and they were more physical. I think that when Denver won the Super Bowl, it wasn't because Peyton Manning had this finesse. It was because Von Miller was a big physical beast, and he pretty much made Cam Newton quit. Like, I don't know. Like, I think the NFL has done a good job of balancing back out that offense and the skill with physicality. I like how recently they've called less. Like, I think that's, obviously the first couple games they have points of emphasis that happens every year, and then they call less. I think in basketball, I might agree that, like, it's less. And again, that's probably the sport I know the least of, but it's definitely, it's more skilled. And I think that skill makes it harder. Certainly I'm going to agree with you guys that the way they play is definitely more skilled and, like, it's finesse, but you can't touch another player without there being a desire for a call, because you can't defend the way you used to. And there's a part of me that thinks that if these skill guys got defended the way that you could defend 20-30 years ago, they
Right.
might just quit and shut down. Not because they can't get the shots off, but because they'd be so frustrated because they wouldn't be able to get what they want. They wouldn't be able to get their free throws.
Free throws.
Oh, yeah, that word, those phrase. And so I do think there's, like, a balance there. Like, I don't know. I if you tell me that Steph Curry played 30 years ago and he could run circles around him, I would agree. But I would also agree that if he played 30 years ago, he'd probably get pushed down to the ground a lot more and not get called. And how does that might balance out? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a good point.
I think there's definitely, in order to be finesse, you have to have the time to be finesse. And if you don't have the time because someone's laying hands on you and you're not getting the call, you don't have as much time to be finesse. So I think that, and I do think the NBA has a problem with that because they constantly are wanting the fouls because they can't get their finesse together. So they get frustrated, and so they want the fouls so that they can get the defenders off of them so they can do their finesse. If the NBA didn't call those fouls, I don't know if you'd have the same game.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm actually, Eric, you stole my thing, but
Sorry.
Because I think in this case it goes both ways. I think players 20, 30 years ago, they wouldn't fare well in our game, but I also think the players that we have now, if they went back 20 or 30 years, wouldn't fare well. Because I think right now the players that we're seeing, their offensive skill set and shooting is just so superior that if players from previous generations were to come and play with the defensive rules now, oh my goodness, it would be a slaughter. Like, our current guys would absolutely just run through them. Whereas if, like you said, Eric, if like a Curry or James Harden were to go back in time in the 80s, they're going to get mauled and nothing is going to get called.
Right.
And so and I don't know if they have the mental toughness
to be able to do it. So I think both generations, if they were to swap places, are going to struggle.
Sure.
Now I know for me personally, I like this product better to watch. I find it more fun. I
Yeah.
love seeing the offensive skill set. I love seeing the high scoring games, seeing the play. I mean, Curry the other night was pulling off shots that were stupid, absolutely stupid.
He's so
It looked like
dude. He's so
looked
much
like a
fun to
video
watch
game.
play. Yeah, he's so much fun to watch play. It's great.
But none of that stuff was happening 20, 30 years ago. You didn't
Right.
see that at that level of consistency. So as a fan, I enjoy the game now a lot better. Is that going to make some people mad who are old school? Probably, but I don't really care. So, but I mean, yeah, I think regardless of who you swap who with what generation, they were going to struggle just because the games were called so differently. So I get what Kevin Garnett's saying, but I also think it's true the other way around as well. That's where I fall on that. And then the last thing, and then we can wrap up just real quick, is I was wrong, and I'll admit this, about LaMelo Ball. At the beginning of the season, I said that he would maybe at best get up to where his brother LeVar is, but no more, and that he would be nothing. And he has done nothing but prove me wrong so far this year.
His brother Alonzo.
Sorry. LeVar's their dad.
Yeah.
he averaged 2 points a game in college. He sucked. Even though he thinks he could beat MJ one-on-one.
Oh,
stop.
But, I can't.
Sorry, still Lonzo, but LaMelo has surpassed everything. He, as of February 1st, was moved into the starting lineup, so he's no longer off the bench. And since then, averaging over 22 points a game, over 6 assists, and 6 rebounds per game. And the Hornets are 3-2, and their scoring's gone up to 120 points per game when it was 107 previously.
Wow.
So the kid, he can play.
Talk about elevating your team. Wow.
Yeah, those numbers are well above anything that Lonzo has done in his career already. And the best part is the kid is fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the passes he pulls off, like he's got a great connection with Bridges, like throwing alley-oops to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a really, really fun player to watch. He's developed a three-point shot, which has been really cool to see. So I'll admit it. I was completely wrong on him at the beginning of the year. LaMelo, if you ever listen to this by any chance, I'm sorry. And please advertise this podcast. That would really help us out. So I just wanted to put that piece out there because it's like, I have to admit when I'm wrong. I have to be relatable and I have to be humble. So.
Hey, and you know what? On this podcast, it doesn't happen a lot, so we're good.
Seriously.
So yeah, that's it for the NBA. It's about time to go. Before we do, I just want to let all you listeners know that we will be taking a hiatus for a little bit. Nothing bad. We will be back. That is a promise. It's just a couple weeks, really. One for ourselves, because this is a lot of work that we put into this, just to take a little bit of a break. But it's also for you guys. This allows us to take some time away to think of new ideas, think of ways that we can better this podcast, and better provide entertainment for you. So we're going to be doing that over the next couple of weeks, but do not worry. We will be back with a new season, new ideas. I don't know. I like our theme song, so we're not changing that.
No,
but,
that'll never change.
So just keep looking on our Instagram. That's where you can follow us on our Instagram at Under.500 podcast. Also on Facebook, same thing for weekly content. We'll still be posting things throughout that you can interact with. And as always, please tell your friends and family about us. Find us anywhere that podcasts are streaming, Spotify, Apple. We're also on YouTube, and give us a subscribe there. Help us out. And yeah, we will see you guys in a couple weeks. Hopefully you don't miss us too much.
See you, everybody.
Later.